Have you ever finished a book and thought two things simultaneously? How clever the plot was and how betrayed and manipulated you felt. Hello everyone, welcome to Harry's Book Cafe in this rather idyllic place here in the UK. Today we're going to talk about Alex Finley's Beautiful Ugly. This book was published in January 2025 and now in May 2026. It is still going incredibly strong. And there must be a good reason for it, right? A quick summary of the plot. The novel follows the life of Grady Green, who is a moderately successful writer. On the night when his latest book becomes a New York Times bestseller list, his wife went missing. What follows is that a year-long depression where he can't write a single word, he can't even read. All his previous loyalties dries up, and with no income, he was forced to sell his once dream house. His agent took pity on him and let him stay in one of her writing cottages in the remote Scottish island of Amberley. And it is there that he realized things are not quite what it seems. The island's inhabitants behave rather strangely. Nothing too obvious, but you get that sense of something unsettling as soon as he arrives at the island. And that's not the only shock. It is there that he starts to see his wife, the one that has been missing on the night a year ago. Grady Green, the main protagonist, is a rather unreliable narrator. More on that a little bit later. I have no idea what happened. Oh, I find the source of the commotion. Yeah, a dog. And that's why all the birds are flying off. Let's talk about the island. The island is almost a character on his own right. It was beautifully described, very detailed description that makes you almost can smell the salty air of the sea and feel the cold condensation on your face when mist comes through from the beach. You can almost hear the rustling of the leaves and feel the wind on your face, and it was beautifully done. But the characters in this village are behaving rather peculiarly and a little bit creepy, and that really gives you a sense of place. Most of you have heard Potemkin's village with beautiful facade hiding nothing. Behind that front is just emptiness. The village, or the island rather, of Amberley is slightly different. Just like Potemkin's village, it too has beautiful fronts, beautiful facade. However, hidden underneath is something far more sinister and ugly than nothingness. And as you read passages and chapters throughout the book, you really get that sense of unsettlingness. But this book is far from perfect. In fact, quite the opposite. The plot lines is perhaps the biggest weakness of this novel. It felt contrived, coming out of nowhere. And also one of the plot line that's really annoying because you feel betrayed. It was building and building and building. And towards the end of the book, when the fact was revealed, you really do feel like, are you playing with me? I felt so manipulated. Apart from one of these twin narratives, the whole plot line, once it's reviewed, you just feel like this is so far-fetched. In order for a book to be successful, it must be realistic. You can fly to the star, you can shoot zombies, but people must behave in a certain way. And the plot line cannot be too far-fetched. The problem with this novel is that it has stepped on all this literary mind. Now, normally I am quite an impatient reader. When a book is bad, I tend to dump it. And if I have to plot through the whole process, I feel exasperated and annoyed by the whole process. And yet, I don't feel about this book. I don't feel anything negative towards Beautiful Ugly. And when I closed the book, I have to really think why that is. And the only conclusion is because of the writing style, the prose. Let's talk about Grady Green, the main protagonist of this novel. I have said before that he is a unreliable narrator, and using this technique of unreliable narrator is very popular. There are some really famous unreliable narrators throughout the literature history. The more recent one is Patrick Bateman in American Psycho, and also Rachel Watson on a Girl on the Train. It's nothing wrong with this technique. In fact, when you use it effectively, it is beautifully done. However, with Grady Green, this is not the case. Normally, when you have this sort of narrator, you are pushing the plot into a new direction. It's really messing with your mind. However, this one, you just feel like it's a cheap trick, repeating again and again. So here's a quick thing, right? He sees his wife on this island, and then he realized it wasn't his wife, and he concluded that he must be tired because of lack of sleep, or he's drunk from last night's whiskey. Once is okay, right? Even twice. But it has been repeated on quite a few occasions. You just start losing patience with this character. You don't believe anything he says. And that really dampens the overall attractiveness of this book. The book is written in a typical British style, very smooth, very rich. There is no unnecessary words. It's almost like you're having a conversation with someone educated. The other thing, whilst we are on the subject of style, is that this novel reads like a horror than thriller that it was marketed to be. The reason for that is because it's very slow writing. It's a really slow beginning, and then the plot start to build, and it's very slow middle, and the plot start to get revealed towards the end. And because of the creepiness that you feel, the unsettling feeling, the unsettling setting of the island of Umberley, it really does give you that horror vibe rather than thriller. And that is not a criticism at all. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I really enjoyed the whole process. So I would give this book 3 out of 5 stars. Would I still recommend this book? Absolutely. Just enjoy the story, go with the flow, and suspend your belief for a while. It is a very good slow burn novel, despite everything I said about its weaknesses. The other thing before I go, I want to say is that there is actually a very interesting hidden message in the book. It is not difficult to find. In fact, in the penultimate chapter, the writer will tell you exactly how to find the hidden message in the book. It was incredibly interesting when you go back and forth. That is the end of this review, and I do hope that you have enjoyed it. If you do so, please give it a thumb up, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. And every week, I promise, I will bring you quality contents just like this one to your screen, wherever you are. Until next time, guys, cheerio.